It was announced today that Harriet Tubman is going to replace Andrew Jackson on the $20 bill. Although a little bit later on in the day it was revealed that she's not fully replacing Andrew Jackson. He's not being booted entirely off of the bill. He's just going around to the back. He will remain on the bill, but on the back side she gets prime billing on the front. And of course, if you've been following over the past couple of years, this is the result of a very long, hard-fought battle by groups like Women on 20s and a number of interested individual citizens, bloggers, and people in the media to have more diverse representation of figures from throughout American history on our bills, as opposed to just the presidents who share several demographic characteristics with each other. And so Harriet Tubman had rated very well in the polling that's been done over the past few years of who should get onto a bill. At the time, we believed it would be the $10 bill. In some of them, Eleanor Roosevelt would win, I believe. We did a video where we said who we think should be on it. I'm pretty sure I said Harriet Tubman. Not
That's
entirely
really
sure,
funny.
But I believe that I did.
That's really funny because I'm pretty sure I said Harriet Tubman.
You did? I'm pretty sure I said it first.
Okay, we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah, but anyway, that's obviously good news, and we're going to circle back to that in just a second. It's not the only change that's coming. That's what most of the news is concerned with, but the back of the $10 bill will also now feature leaders in the movement to give women the right to vote, and a redesigned $5 bill will feature leaders of the civil rights era. And rather than letting those changes be the only nod to diversity on new U.S. currency, they will happen alongside the changing face of the $20 bill. Now, all of this is good news. That does not mean that it has been received as good news by everybody. In a little bit, we're going to turn to the right-wing reaction, the racist reaction. But there are a lot of lefties, people who have been campaigning for these changes to happen, that are not at all happy with the changes.
Yeah, I was surprised by. The right wing not being happy.
I'm not surprised.
Say it with me.
Yeah.
Of course! Yeah. Of course they don't like it. Now, I'm going to say that I'm a little mixed on it, but by mixed, I don't mean 50-50. I mean 94% to 6%. Mm-hmm. So the 6% I understand of conservatives is they're traditionalists and they like things the way they were. Mm-hmm. And if it's not defending Andrew Jackson. For some of them it most certainly is. Mm-hmm. But for a lot of them, it's not just defending that guy. It's if you had James K. Polk on the 20, they would have been like, "Oh, the Polk, we're going to lose the dark horse candidate. Yeah. Don't do that," right? And they would have been opposed to that change because they're opposed to all change.
Yeah.
So everybody who's opposed to it are not necessarily bad guys. It's just the way they're built is that they're more traditionalist.
Yeah.
And as a person who's deeply nostalgic, I can understand that point of view.
Yeah.
Now, but the 94% of the argument is that is the better argument is on the other side, obviously.
Yeah, and of course, she's an incredibly admirable figure from American history, not just for her work in freeing slaves, but also her campaign to receive the pay that she was due based on her wartime activities. Now, despite her fight, she never made as much as other soldiers. She made something like 25% less. But even getting that was a significant victory. Obviously very outspoken and very active on a number of different issues. An inspirational figure for both African Americans and for women. And so it is good. It's two birds, one stone. Inspirational in a number of different ways. And actually three birds with one stone because fuck Andrew Jackson. The people who are defending him don't know anything about him aside from the 10% who do know it, and that's why they like him. The past, America's past is complicated, and it would be difficult to laud anyone if we were to look at their lives from the point of view of where we are, because many of them were slave owners. But Andrew Jackson is a special version of an asshole from that time. I could have pulled so many quotes. I'm just going to read one. He owned hundreds of slaves, so not just like a minor slave owner, hundreds of slaves, and in 1835 worked with his postmaster general to censor anti-slavery mailings from northern abolitionists. The historian Daniel Walker Howe writes that Jackson expressed his loathing for the abolitionists vehemently, both in public and in private. So look, on the slavery issue, he's wrong, but perhaps even worse, when it comes to him and Native Americans, there is almost no one figure who is more objectionable, more reprehensible. What he did to defraud different Native American communities, to kill and brutalize, to drive them out of areas, constantly making treaties with dozens of groups saying that, okay, we're going to move you a couple of dozen miles in that direction, but then as long as the trees blossom and the waters run, you'll have your land. And then 6 months later, he's beaten them out of that location. I mean, you can lay thousands of dead Native Americans solely on his back. And that's just in the Trail of Tears. Never mind the military campaigns against Native Americans in Florida that he masterminded, And look, you can go beyond even just Native Americans. This is one of the worst figures from American history, and it is a good thing that he's at least being put on the back of the bill.
Okay, so I have a little bit more mixed view of Andrew Jackson. So given what John said, how could it possibly be mixed? So overwhelmingly, I agree with you. So let's just be clear about that. So let me just, the things that were be put in context, let's put it this way. Number one, not all, a lot of the founding fathers owned slaves. And some of them were geniuses and wonderful and led to a better, were progressives that led to more freedom and liberty for a bigger circle of people. Now, you say, what? A slave owner progressive? It's progressive for that time.
Yes, that's true.
Right? And yes, they had miles and miles and miles to go, and we wish they'd gotten there quicker, and they kind of already knew. They knew at the time. It wasn't like, so, but within the historical context of where they lived, they were like, oh, look at those slave owners who say maybe we shouldn't have slaves later, which was awfully convenient, I grant you, right? Yeah. So Andrew Jackson is in that group. Well, you know, he's a little separated from the founding fathers, but he's in this group of slave owning presidents of that time. Now, Native Americans, he was particularly brutal towards. So it wasn't, like a lot of Native Americans were killed. We betrayed them in almost every deal we made with them. No, that's again too strong, but in a lot of the deals that we made with them. But he was a ringleader of that circus. On the other hand, Andrew Jackson was a populist, and so one of the things that he did is instead of letting the ruling class hover above the crowd, now he would mercilessly do that against African Americans and Native Americans, et cetera. But for the poor white people, he actually let them into the White House, which was like, whoa, what in the world? He's allowing,
you can't even go in there now.
Yeah, he's allowing poor people into the White House and letting them, actually be part of their house.
Yeah.
So that's why I say it's just a slightly more mixed record, because that strand of populism had some positive parts to it. And then within its historical context, although his acts were monstrous, they were not as monstrous as if someone had done them today.
That's true.
Okay.
That's true. Yeah.
So having said all that, of course he should be taken off the $20 bill, right?
Yes.
And furthermore, to me, maybe the most convincing point is, putting aside the atrocities, which you shouldn't put aside, he was against paper currency. It's the most ironic person on a paper bill you could possibly have. Yeah, on that alone, you're actually, Andrew Jackson might feel like you were dishonoring his memory by putting him on the $20 bill.
Put him on a debit card or something. Really fast. I have to say this one story, and you should read, look, go back to your history textbooks from high school, read The People's History of the United States, which has a great chapter on Andrew Jackson. But in one particular case, he said to a group of, I believe, Creek Indians, he said, okay, so I know that you don't want to be moved out of your area, so we're going to let you stay. But in return, all the men in your group need to go to Florida, and I believe it was the Seminoles. We need you to conduct a military expedition against them, because they'd rather Indians are killing Indians than white people are killing Indians. So the Creek men are like, okay, fine, we're going to do this if that's what it takes to stay. So they all travel down there and engage in this horrific battles against the Seminole Native Americans there. And so then as soon as the men leave, they move in and they take all the women and they brutalize them and rape them and force them to move as soon as the men are out of the area. It was the greatest possible betrayal. And so that's the guy that people are fighting to remain on the goddamn bill. And by the way, simply because you're put on a bill, for the next 10,000 years you have to stay on it, how about we rotate it from time to time? The Founding Fathers are great, don't get me wrong, in a lot of cases, but there have been some other great Americans since then.
Yeah, and so now on to Harriet Tubman for one more second. She, John was referring to, she worked for the Union in the Civil War as both a spy, which is interesting, and a scout, a nurse, a cook, many other things. She was supposed to get $25, but they wouldn't give her the full $25, yet another injustice. She used to be a slave. She was used to injustices, but that one particularly stung given how much she helped the Union. So they only gave her $20 a month. So now she's on that $20 bill. Yeah. So that's, I think, perfectly appropriate. Now, the left-wing criticism that John was referring to is so left-wing, I thought it was right-wing. Feminista Jones had this quote, which I couldn't believe. She writes, "And Tubman didn't respect America's economic system, so making her a symbol of it would be insulting." And I was like, wait, was she supposed to respect the slavery that I was like, my God, what are you talking about? And then I was, oh, she's left wing. She's saying, don't make her a part of this system that she hated.
Yeah.
But wait a minute, like I don't agree with that either because this is a different system.
I get what she's saying.
Right.
But it's not about saying she loves capitalism. It's about showing, like when people pick up the bills, they say, oh, look, there are different sorts of people that are important and significant in our history. And that's why I think it's important. Some people also incredibly frustrated, pissed off that it's going to take 14 years for this to actually go into effect. And even though you have the women's suffrage activists who are going to be put on one of the bills, they're saying the fact that there's so many of them, so each individual one is going to be small, and in one of the cases they're going to be on the back of the bill, then that's actually an insult. I get what you're saying, but it's progress.
Right, and I confess that I don't know all of the views of Harriet Tubman on capitalism, but there is a giant difference with capitalism with slavery and capitalism without slavery. So maybe she talked about that distinction, but again, historical context matters a lot here.
Yeah.
Now the flip side for Republicans, Robert A., this guy on Twitter writes in, replace a man who hated banks with a commie slave stealer on cotton banknote, 7-layer dip of irony.
Yeah.
Wait. Because
That's not 7.
She was opposed to slavery when she, by the way, used to be a slave, etc. You're criticizing her today for being a commie because she was a slave stealer?
Yeah.
Isn't that amazing that people like that still exist?
Yeah. He seems to be saying that system was fucked up, but she's also fucked up for not liking that system. Oddly enough, the arguments of people on Twitter don't necessarily make rational sense.
But like to think that is an insult you could use in 2016, like slave stealer. Doesn't
Slave stealer.
Slave stealer as an insult.
Stealer.
Oh my.
Yeah.
Man, if you thought there isn't racism in the world, think again.